Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Family Matters YouTube channel, where we discuss everything pertaining to the family. Today, we will continue our series on addiction, and we will be examining social media addiction. We will tell you what it is, the impact it has on the family and on individual, and how to manage it effectively. We know that many persons who are watching this channel now and may be addicted to social media. Do not be in despair. The Family Matters channel is here to help you with that addiction. I am your host, Sabrina Martin, an educator, and with me today are our panelists. We have Dr. Leonard Shirenge, who has a PhD in sustainability science. He is a university professor and student college advisor for over a decade. Welcome, Dr. Shirenge.
Thank you, Sister Sabrina.
We also have our lone female panelist, Asaria Judith Mariam, who is a lawyer by profession. She is passionate about helping young people, and this particular topic has great interest for her as she was once addicted to social media. Welcome, Judith.
Thank you very much for hosting.
Our final panelist is Dr. Solomon Serenjoji, who is a research scientist specializing in applied physics communication and photonics. He's passionate about families and how they are impacted daily by daily challenges and finding ways to enhance their well-being. Welcome, Doctor.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Welcome, everyone. We welcome you, our YouTube audience. And if you're joining us for the very first time, please hit the like and the subscribe button. Thank you. Now, let's get on to business. Now, Judith, what is social media?
Thank you very much for that question, Sabrina Martin. Social media is interactive technologies that facilitate reaction, sharing, and aggregation of content. So what we are seeing that is specific in social media is there has to be sharing of content. There has to be a virtual community that has this information being shared, but also reaction to this content that has been shared. Some of the online platforms that could amount to social media have to have those parameters. You're sharing the content, you're reacting to it, and also it has to be in a virtual space. That would be my definition for social media.
Thank you so very much. Dr. Serenge, what is social media addiction then?
Social media addiction falls in the line of addiction.
Yes.
And addiction, as we have been discussing for a long time now, is a disorder of the brain's reward system, whereby the brain naturally releases dopamine as a reward to encourage uptake of certain activities. For eating, for example, if you eat, the brain releases satisfaction and you gain satisfaction, and that satisfaction brings you back to that activity because it is good for your sustenance. Now, what happens is with social media, such as other addictive behaviors, it releases more than the dopamine that your body needs. And it is intentionally so. So when that dopamine level is released, you get satisfied with the likes, with the clicks that you see for whatever video you've posted or whatever you have done on the visual space. And when it is released, you gain that calm, you get your high and you bring your calm now. If you don't get that high, you come back again and again. So you see someone always on their phone checking on their likes on the several social media platforms.
Okay.
And it is addictive in that sense that it takes away time from other activities and it causes anxiety. It has been found to cause anxiety. It has been found to cause depression. It has been found to cause lack of sleep. It has been found to ruin families. That's why we are talking about it today.
Thank you so very much. And I'm happy for that, because that brings me to my next question, which I will now direct at Dr. Serenjoji. How does social media addiction affect an individual and in extent the family?
Thank you, Sabrina. Actually, it's a real problem that we have in the world today. My colleagues have addressed the definitions. Just like any addictions, first it hits you as an individual, but because we live in a social world, the extent to which you're affected is also transmitted, to the family. So the dopamine, it's a neurotransmitter in the brain, and that it takes away your freedom to decide about how to control your emotions. So the first thing that you're going to struggle with as an individual is the sense of validation. You're in this cycle of seeking validation after validation. We are now becoming more sensitive to likes. You measure your worthiness with the number of likes or subscribers that you have on YouTube channel, and that can have a deteriorating effect even on your self-esteem as an individual. But as a family,
yes, I really want to hear that.
A family has mother, like model family would have a mother, father, or children. Sometimes they're not there, but children, let's say they're there. There is less time, quality time that is spent as a family interacting together, because most of the time, because it's an addiction, you would rather keep scrolling or exercise your fingers to try and seek other things that are that are absent in your partner or in your children. So the children, they don't really have that emotional connection with their parents, because after all, they can use the phone to answer as many questions as their parents. Sometimes they don't even have answers, to the things they're asking for. So that social dilemma is actually in the family. But also don't forget that social media is the avenue to which we get addicted to other things, such as gambling, online gambling, such as we learn negative things like gambling, like drug abuse and so on. So it's a channel through which other things might be brought into the family.
Okay, thank you so very much for that. You actually have covered a question I wanted to ask, but I think I want to do it so it can be done. We can have a look at it. What are some signs, Dr. Shirenje, of social media addiction? Some specific signs that you would see when you look at it, you will say, yes, this person is addicted to social media. What are some signs?
So I think we should deal with statistics.
Okay, go ahead.
Basically, over 4.41 billion people use the internet and actually are using social media. And of these, according to researchstatistics.com, 4.56% or 4.69%, which is 210 million, have specified on their own that they are addicted to social media.
Wow.
And they have reported that they lack sleep, they feel depressed, they suffer from what has now been termed FOMO, which is fear of missing out.
Oh.
And that makes them lack the feel-good factor. That makes them lose confidence in themselves. And that makes them feel isolated. Have you ever heard of the term lonely in the presence of others?
Yes.
You are alone, but you're in the presence of many people. Why? Because you're on your phone and you're not listening to the conversations that are happening. So it does have so many detrimental health, psychological effects, which then also compound to physical effects. You're not exercising, you gain weight. So can you see that it is linked to many other pressures in life? And when you lose sight of your own body, people let go. They can even go further to get to alcohol addiction or to drug addiction to compensate for the things that they have lacked when they no longer value themselves. So it is a very big problem, and it affects families in a way that people are no longer communicating as father and mother. When children are on the table eating, they are on their phones. When it's time for a family time just to talk, they are on their phones. Some are not doing homework. And with the privilege of ChatGTP and all these other platforms,
yes,
they can do their
AI.
homework 5 minutes and they are back onto entertainment. So social media is really harming the family.
Wow. I see. Yes, Dr. Solomon, I see you really want to add to that.
That's a profound way of putting it, Leonard, because we have to understand that social media Well, it's also the bread of butter. It's a means of earning for, especially post-COVID. It has become a channel through which people make money. But also, it brings in a lot of negativity, right? If you talked about children not doing homework, how do we control that? We're living in an internet age where parents have no idea what their children are doing. They have these tablets from school. They will pretend to say that we actually have homework from school, but they're not actually doing that. And you have no way, so we are in a vicious cycle of cat and mouse game. The parents don't know what to do, and then they just keep a pass going. And so the children are slowly going away from what would have been a coherent, cohesive family, knowingly or unknowingly.
That's why we have the Family Matters channel. We will explore different ways in which we can solve this problem, Dr. Solomon. That's why we're here today. And as a matter of fact, it brings me to the question, which I will ask Sarah Judith. How does social media affect school-age children?
Thank you for the question. The first thing we have to know about social media, it is made in such a way that for a 3-second glaze, the child is going to be distorted. And we're seeing most of the children right now have ADHD. Their concentration level has been distorted because of this quick gratification given by what Dr. Leonard said about dopamine. It is rewarding you. So for 3 seconds, I'm being rewarded. Before I know, they're scrolling. So the first thing is ADHD. The concentration level has become very difficult for most children because the tablet is in front of them. You have all these things, glazing their eyes, but also their health generally. Many people have problems with their eyes because the screen is in front of you, even if you're saying it's maybe LED light, but the eyes are affected. Then the second thing we're having, there's a distorted reality for most people. They're living very delusional of what the real world is and what, is the ideal world. They're imagining, if I'm at school studying, but the person I'm seeing on social media has amassed wealth so quickly, what is the point of education? So many people are very delusional as children. The second one, very many vices are being gotten on social media. You're learning something new. And guess what? These days, even the games that seem to be very innocent are taking in all the children. They are learning all this crazy language used in social media. So for me, I feel it is something really difficult, more than we can expect, especially because it affects the brain. And if your neural pathways are affected, concentration, lack of sleep, anxiety, depression, and unfortunately, these days we're even seeing suicide because of cyberbullying. Another thing I want to highlight before I give you back into this question you've asked me is what we call body dysmorphia. People have now an illusion of what they should look like because social media sets standards which are very unrealistic of what people look like. So maybe my child, a parent's child is struggling, maybe with weight because of health issues. I'm going to social media, I'm going to open this up, and they're telling me this is what I should look like. For even as young as 8, we are seeing children wearing makeup, having a certain fashion. So society's standards have now been distorted. So you can see there is a lot of impact for the children we are having today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sarah. So, Dr. Shirenje, what age would you say is most at risk for social media addiction?
I love to use statistics.
Go ahead.
And we can look at a website called Search Logistics to get this data. It tells us that all age groups are vulnerable, but some are more vulnerable than the others. Okay. And we must know, social media is not very old. It started in 1997. That's when we started having these apps, Facebook and blah, blah, coming up. And before then, we saw that there were other addictions, but after 1997, we now have between the age groups 18 to 29, 84% of the people use social media.
Okay.
Ages 30 to 49, 81%. Ages 50 to 64, 73%. 65 plus, 45%.
Okay.
So everyone is vulnerable, but it's more impactful to the impressionable. The teenagers are being hit hard. And intentionally, social media sites target the teenagers for their attention, competing, because they are still very impressionable and growing up. So we have 94% of our teenagers having social media problems. 94%.
Wow.
And it's only judged on the usage. All of them, if not all kids who have got access to a phone have got a social media account.
Yes.
And that is dangerous for the young kids. For the adults, you are drawn to work, you are drawn to problems of dealing with the family. But with the young people, because of their age and impressionable age, they are in the most affected range. Teenagers from 13, nowadays we are even talking of 12, but 13 to 23 is the most affected.
Okay, and I see Dr. Solomon wants to get in. Go ahead.
That was very good. But I was just thinking of the little ones, the ones who cannot even say anything. Those ones too understand, even before they can speak, they understand the art of poking and clicking. They have choices of color, and they will even raise their voices. If the tablet, they will become restless in the house. They become controllers of their own destiny. The parents don't know what to do with that. There is a void and gap. What do I do with this? It's a learning device, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but it's also a platform for them to learn games and the distortion of the reality. They want to be like Superman. They want to be like Batman. And they will work so hard to go and exercise and form groups to do these things. This is the beginning of well, most of them are now millennials, and these new terms coming
Gen Z.
Gen Zs, they call them.
Yes.
So it's no longer, 97 is no longer, eons ago. It is right here. And I think we have to lower the age group a little bit to go all the way down to almost zero, I would say.
Okay, Asara.
I wanted to add something in relation to both discussions. Realize there is potency. We have a lot of choices right now when it comes to social media. So even the traditional platforms we are aware of now, there is new, those which are very important. But also another important thing which I think is a gimmick social media uses is the color schemes are very intentional, because then they're pulling you in. You mentioned about the little children. The color schemes used for marketing specifically targets them. Brighter colors affecting the eyes. Let's have more creative ways. Have music so that your attention is drawn to you as well. But also another important factor in relation to what group age is being targeted, they are looking at their vulnerability, that mentally they can't make choices. So how do we give them choices? Include this maybe in the movies they're watching, include the games. So the ads are targeted to push them to social media. So as parents are looking at social media as well, they have to look at things like ads, those clickbaits that come. Before you know, the child will be pushed to go and watch social media as well.
Thank you so very much. There are so many things to be discussed, but we will do that after the break. Thank you.
Hello everyone again. Today I'm going to give you a special nugget about social media addiction. In our hyper-connected world, social media can sometimes pull us away from what truly matters: our family. While it offers a platform for connection, excessive use can lead to disconnection at home. Let us be intentional about our time online. Set aside moments for family activities, deep conversations, and shared experiences. By reducing our screen time, we can strengthen our bonds, create cherished moments, and build a supportive family environment. Remember, the most meaningful connections happen face to face. Let us prioritize our loved ones and cultivate a family culture of presence and engagement. This is Family Matters. Hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you so very much for staying with us. We will continue with our discussion. And my next question goes to Dr. Shirenje. Now, can you tell me if there's a difference in gender where social media addiction is concerned?
Oh, yes. Search Logistics again provides us some very interesting statistics. I'm going to mention some of the social media platforms
Thank
and
you.
the percentages of use, not particularly addiction, but usage. So if you are to look at the statistics, Snapchat, 60% of social media users of the female side. If you are using social media and you are female, 60% use of the users are female of Snapchat, 40% male. When it comes to Pinterest, 78% female, then 22% male. Instagram, 50%, 57% female, 43% male. Facebook, 44% female, 56% male. Twitter, 32% female, 68% male.
Wow.
LinkedIn, 49% female, 51% male. TikTok, 59% female, 41% male. YouTube, 45% female, 55% male. These are just some of the social media platforms.
Yes.
We have not looked at WhatsApp and everything, but you find that on overall,
Yes.
when it comes to entertainment and feel good factors, Pinterest and all those, it's mostly female. When it comes to informative, LinkedIn, YouTube, trying to find information, it's male. So there is a disaggregate use for entertainment and feel good
Good
factor,
factor, okay.
whereby female are easily more impressionable than males, statistically speaking.
Thank you so very much. Quite interesting. Yes,
That could
Dr.
mean,
Solomon.
That could mean that there is a need of a sense of, as my sister said, there is a need for people to look a certain way in real life, and the distinction between reality and the virtual world is real, and we want to bridge that gap. And I think the gender disparity it is taking advantage of that impressionability to say, for example, women would rather, would invest more in trying to manage how they look, and men maybe less so. And then the social media try to repackage their selling points to take advantage of those weaknesses. And knowing that social media, it's a business, it's not it's free, but someone is making money out of it. And don't forget that you pay actually to be there. You may say, no, I have Wi-Fi in my house, I'm not paying, but indirectly you're paying for the time. What they need is your time. And once they have your time, then they can feed you with other things, like the ads, for example. The movie times you take, the more time you spend, the easier it is for you to become impressionable in general.
Thank you. So with that being said, can you tell me, and this question goes to anyone that wants to answer this one, in your opinion, what is the most addictive social media platform, if there is such?
Could I take that? But I'm going to piggyback on what you just said. Well, the question of gender disparity, amused me a little bit. But you realize right now, because of the filters they're using, everybody has the idea they have to be perfect. Right now, all these sporting, companies with gym is selling men that you have to look a certain way. So the gap may have been there in the past, but I think we're going to merge the gap very soon, because these days people are even wearing prosthetics for a certain body that they have to sell to the world. Now, to your question, I may not have the right statistics, but I know platforms like TikTok are taking over. You have Instagram is taking over, Snapchat is taking over. The relativity of what is more, I would never know. But I know right now everybody's scrolling on TikTok, everybody's on YouTube, everybody is on Snapchat. That would be my response. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Okay, I see Dr. Shirenje wants to...
We have a bit of statistics. But
Okay,
this is
go ahead.
2018.
Okay.
2018. Search Logistics showed that Facebook had 3.49 billion users. That was the top. YouTube had 2.491 billion users, followed by WhatsApp with 2 billion, Instagram 2 billion, TikTok 1.562 billion, WeChat 1.36. This is the Chinese media platform.
Okay.
Facebook Messenger 979 million. Telegram 800 million. Douyin 752. Snapchat 750 million. Kuisha Show, I don't know where this one is from. 685. Twitter or X.
Yes.
619 million. Sina Weibo 605 million. Pinterest 482 million. 78% of those being female. So
Okay, but I didn't hear
for
TikTok.
Pinterest, for Pinterest only.
Yes.
That's the one I'm giving for
Okay,
Pinterest. 78 of those 482 million. 78% are female.
Yes.
So these are the statistics of how much people are using. Then you can link that to if people are excessively using, because we have statistics telling us that for women they use per day 2.8 hours on social media. Men 1.81 hours on social media per day.
Okay, as Judith has mentioned, but that's 2018 statistics, right?
Yeah.
Because based on what you did or what you said, I did not really see TikTok. And TikTok seems to be trending now.
It is there.
It is there.
It's 1.562.
Okay. So we will, I guess, we will definitely
might
have to do,
increase.
getting more recent
Yeah.
research on what is happening.
But you
Quickly,
can see
brothers,
there is a
Dr.
trend.
Solomon.
There is a trend. The only reason Facebook, for example, might have big numbers because it's the oldest elephant in the room, right?
Yes.
It's the first social media platform.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it's the one that harmonizes all age groups, you know.
Yes.
It's
That's a good
the
one.
teenagers who were teenagers in 1997 are now much older, 20 plus years, and they're not going to go away from Facebook. But it's also embracing it's a family kind of thing, you know. YouTube, it's more or less well balanced. But I would imagine, I don't have the statistics, but the newer ones tend to harness more the younger population, like TikTok, like Snapchat. These ones tend to be more, impressionable to the younger community than the older community, I would argue. But the trend, though, is that they're all harmonizing. 1.5 is not far away from 2. Even 900 for some of these lesser ones that are new. I'm even surprised that a new platform that came 2-3 years ago is already catching up with Facebook by just a difference of few. So you can see that in the next 5 years, social media will be a big cloud where numbers don't matter anymore. Everybody's in there.
Okay, thank you so very much. So we have discussed addiction. We have discussed the impact it has. Now we are going to have a look at the cure. Dr. Shirenje, how can some of these addictions be cured? Looking at social media addiction.
I would want to classify the issue of recovering from addiction.
Yes, better yet, can social media addiction be cured? Probably that should be a better question, yeah?
Yes, I think we have got strategies that we can implement
Yes.
at a family level. That's why we have to classify who we are dealing with.
Yes.
We have to know how to deal with addiction among the children,
Yes.
addiction among the parents. Those, if we classify that, with kids, it might be easy. It is the responsibility of the parents to make sure that we manage screen time for our children.
Okay.
For children, I think it's quite simple. If I have a child who's young, tell them, if you are going to be using your phone, 1, not on the dinner table. 2, when you come from school, you only have 15 minutes to do your homework and I want to see it. So we have to monitor what they are doing. That's for the children.
Right, for the adults now.
For the adults,
Yes.
it's a different story.
Tell us about it.
Because you see, who's going to monitor the monitor? You are the monitor.
Yes.
And you are addicted. And you are the adults. The children look up to you. You are the role model. So you are telling them stay away from the phone, and yet you are there.
So what can
So
we
what
as
we
parents
can do
can do?
for the parents?
Yes, go ahead.
Number 1, let's move away from our phones. Let's move away from the screen. Let us go and exercise as much as possible. Let's walk in nature. let's take time out and talk to the kids to hear what they've been doing at school. It might be difficult, but you can actually just sit down and ask your child, how was your day at school? That's about 15 to 20 minutes of them explaining, which you have already taken away from social media.
Yeah.
When it's time to sit on the table to eat, it's family time. It is the responsibility of the monitor, the parent, to take away their phone first before they implement a code to the others and say, take away your phone. You take away yours first.
Okay.
When it's time to sleep, switch off the phone. Throw it as far away from your bed as possible. Because even the blue light it emits affects your sleep.
Yes, it does.
Let's go back to basics. How many hours of sleep are you taking? Of that time, how much has been taken away by social media? You can start there. I need my 8 hours sleep. 3 of them were being stolen by social media. I'm going to switch off my phone at 10 p.m. It's very possible. Switch it off, throw it away. Doesn't matter how much work you have not yet covered. It's no longer time for us to be on the phones, even if there's work. Because normally, I'm talking from experience, personal experience. If I'm dealing with work and the work is not easily coming out the way I want, next thing, I'm on YouTube watching something else to relax. And guess what? I got to scroll. So take it away. It should be intentional.
Yes.
I want this out. The moment you want to solve something, you take a step towards it. I want to give my other colleagues opportunity to speak as well.
Thank you so very much. Judith?
I wanted to add something to how we handle social media. The first thing I think we have to realize is we are in a society that is chasing dopamine towards us. So we have to acknowledge we have a social media problem. So once we know that, we may not be saying, okay, go cold turkey. Some people may say, go cold turkey on social media, let go of it. But then like Dr. Chirenji has said, what if I have, maybe work research to do online? So for me, the first thing I would say that has worked for me, I did mention I had a problem with social media.
Yes, you did.
I turned my phone black and white. I mentioned something about colors.
Yes.
They'll attract you. When it is black and white, my screensaver is black and white. And then that, I think it rewires my brain to know this is boring. But when the colors are very bright, I knew the color schemes were a problem. So that would be something practical for somebody out there to look at. Change the color of your screen. But I've also seen researchers saying changing the color to black and white for your screen is very helpful. Remember the TVs of black and white in the past?
Yes,
We
I
never
remember
spent
that.
much time with that. And the second thing I would also give is write down your goals. What do you really want with your life? So when you know these are the goals I'm putting down for my life, or me as a parent talking to my child, what do you want? If it's the academic excellency, those Ivy League universities you may want to go to, they may require you study a lot. If you're spending time on social media, you will notice the goals I've written down, I'm not achieving them. So after writing down your goals as a parent, sit with your child and assess, are we achieving these goals? Probably not. Then the third thing is find things that can give you dopamine away from your phone. If it is sports, get interactive. 2, get a community. Do things that require physical interaction if you can. But if you can't, say maybe for the families, let's say long distance relationships, parents with kids studying abroad, find things to do on the phone that are going to draw you closer. Let's say maybe it's going to be video time, take photos, take your phone with you all over the place. So get very, very interactive. And then for the teenagers who you realize are having a problem with the addiction of social media, like he said, be intentional. If you have to go cold turkey, be cold turkey. Give it an experiment. This month, we are all going to get off our phones after maybe a certain time, and we are all deliberate 6 p.m. No phones. No phones. So if parents are very deliberate about dealing with the issue of social media, we may get somewhere. And then the last thing I would give for parents out there now to deal with social media, after you've admitted this is a problem, sit with your entire family. Look for new games that could, help you. There's tango, there's cards, ask questions, give your children assignments. Psychologists have actually noted when the little children are given things to play with, they're challenging their brains to grow. And the last one, and I'm saying this is the last, stop watching, not really stopping, but find a way of watching longer videos like on YouTube. The longer the video, the better for your mind. Because the shorter videos, the shorts we are now seeing on the reels, are triggering you to scroll. So longer videos or podcasts would be better because you're listening, you are not watching. So longer podcasts, longer videos would be something that would help. That actually helped me. Longer podcasts.
Thank you so very much. And let's go to Dr.
Yeah.
Solomon.
There's
Go
almost
ahead.
nothing left for me. I'll say something. So I was just thinking through. We need to differentiate between a need and a habit.
Okay.
Not all social media is going to take us down that rabbit hole, but we need to be able to differentiate and say, this is just a habit. Every time I'm sitting there, as when you get distracted from work, you just randomly, you don't even do it, you're just randomly looking up, news that are disconnected. That's a habit. Whereas you could be intentional, you're doing some research, you're doing, YouTube especially has some very good, if you're a student, there's a lot of some very nice channels. You can
They
learn
are.
a lot. Yes, and they're very organized, sometimes even better than the classroom teacher. Those can be very good, and in most cases, they're not shorter videos. They are coherent and well organized. So let's see, need versus habit. The other thing is that she said in part, let's choose not all social media. Let's unfollow some of the things, for example.
Okay, so
There is
that's
an
a way.
overload.
Okay,
Yeah, just unfollow some of them.
Okay.
You're not interested. I may be on just unfollow them. Let's go down. Maybe YouTube, Facebook. Let's have a smaller set than this entire set. It's too much information. Then the other thing is about notifications. What I mean is that the phone is on Bing and cling all the time. And then it distracts. You're in a meeting, I'm talking to my brother, then suddenly I have to look at that. That is not good. Let us have notification buttons completely off, or at least reduced to an extent where we're not distracted. The fewer notifications we have on our phones, the less we will think about going to that phone, and probably the more time we'll spend with because sometimes, and it's very annoying, you're speaking to someone trying to convey it, and then suddenly they prioritize the phone, and then suddenly, so what were you saying? It can be very, very damaging. So and it happens and subconsciously sometimes, but the point is it's because of the notifications. And don't forget that social media comes from across the globe. We're in this part of the world, but somewhere else it's day, somewhere else it's night, so you have 24 hours distraction from the phone, because in Australia they're waking up, in the US they're sleeping, in Africa something else is happening, so there's no sleep. As a person, you're going down that stress drain. So let's cut back on the notifications, and probably that will help.
Okay, thank you so very much. I really enjoyed, and I'm hoping that our subscribers or viewers would have gotten something from what we just said. Also, I was thinking that one of the cure too is for mothers when they're pregnant with their children. Do not spend so much time on the phone, but you could be reading to your children, and this will also aid in the reduction of social media addiction. Thank you so very much, my panelists, for your contribution, Dr. Solomon, Asara Judith, Dr. Shirenje. Thank you so very much for coming, and I look forward for having you sometime in the future on discussing something else. Thank you, my audience, for watching. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and please tune in to our next series. Thank you.